Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm on the wrong side. It's
Look
all
at him
right.
over here now.
What up? What up? Answers by guess. What up there, guess?
Sup?
I am ready. I am excited. I have a little surprise for you today, but
Okay.
remember, guys,
Uh, your
here for
mic
week
went crazy
4.
there. Now it's good. Now it's
It's
back.
better. It's better. All right. Remember, always look for those hashtags ABGFF and answers by guest. Look for us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, X, and Spotify. Um, it's an exciting game, I guess, on Thursday. I don't know, but if you guys don't know who we are again the inside scoop from outside the box. Two guys in the basement trying to give our best opinions on what we feel fantasy football is going to look like. Guess I'm going to let you talk so that I can start sharing us.
Yeah. Hopefully you're quick because I'm going to be quick. Last week was a great week. And Thursday night was 4-1 on props. Brings the total to 22-10. And I may have gone a little overboard this week.
What do you mean?
I've got 2 post-it notes full of things.
You know what the crazy part is? And the funny part is that my surprise is ABG3P, propositions, preparations, and our preferences. I figure why not throw a little throwback in? Maybe week 4, bring everybody a little luck, especially if they're down on their luck. I know I'm 1 and 2 in a bunch of leagues. Don't want to be there. Hopefully to change my luck. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we change the format a little bit? But you know what we can do? We're going to post these. We'll put these as Rob's and guesses maybe, and maybe put yours out there as well of all the propositions. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the propositions are similar based on my thought process and how you did your show on Tuesday.
We shall see. But here's the one thing. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you directly, but I did mention to a few coworkers. One of the things that I look for is very similar to what we do here at Answers by Guests, being the inside scoop from outside the box and always a step ahead. The guys that I look for are guys that have maybe yet to emerge or who have been sitting in that flow and waiting to hit that ebb or vice versa. Nobody knows which one is which. But that's pretty much what I look for. So when I say I've got a list of things here, these are things that haven't really been happening, or at least maybe not last week, but it's things that I see happening relatively soon, as early as this week. So I'm going to make a play on them.
All right. Do you want to go through yours first? Do you want to go through some of these propositions and the games? I'll let you decide, bud.
No, we'll just go through them and with the games, and when we get to them, I know pretty much by heart what I got going. So
beautiful. Let's start with the first one here. Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Over under. I've been seeing this guy's name everywhere. And AJ Brown's out, Devonta Smith's out. What about Jahan Dotson? He was at 2.5 receptions. Do you believe he would get over or under on this one?
now I've got to ask: is AJ Brown definitely out? Because last
he
I
has
heard,
been out. That's what I had seen. He was out.
Because last I heard that he was possibly playing. So let's look that up real quick.
I'm gonna look that up, and I'll let you think about this one.
Now, one guy I had all the way on the left of one of my post-it notes was a guy who was a 5 guy for your eyes this summer. Because I was under the impression when I made my initial list of guys to target for props this weekend, he was one that automatically popped into my head. And that's Johnny Wilson.
Right.
And I was just thinking, Johnny Wilson, if the top 2 are out, he's got a little burn here and there.
AJ Brown's out.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Johnny Wilson as somebody who you could take a look. And the reason I didn't take him, he's on the left-hand side, is because the numbers weren't out when I finally went ahead and took for him, because I think Vegas was obviously waiting to see what happens with AJ Brown. But your question is Jahan Dotson, and I'm going to say over. I'm going to say over. I think that, Philly probably will go into this game, try and run the ball kind of as much as possible. Not sure who you have for the Bucks, if you have anybody, but now with Rachaad White being sick and questionable, and Bucky Irving was questionable all week, but he had said he was good to go since Tuesday or Wednesday. I kind of think both teams might want to go into this game with their wide receivers banged up too, kind of let's just try and run the ball and keep it as good as possible. I nailed it with Baker last week. I had a bad feeling he was going to come back down to earth, so to speak. But I'm going to go over with Jahan Dotson to keep this moving. I think he'll get 3 quite easily. I mean, it's him, Goddard. If they throw to Barkley out of the backfield, then Johnny Wilson, a 5-guy for your eyes from July. Man, even that rhymes.
Oh yeah, and that kid Covey, I think, is out too, or Colby, or whatever his name is. He's on IR now as well. So, all right, we were talking about him. Bucky Irving, 8.25 fantasy points, half PPR. Do you think he will be breaking that? Like you said, he was banged up, seems to be playing and on track to play for tomorrow.
I'm going to go over, and that's saying that Rachaad White is still going to feel. I mean, they're going to pump him full of fluids. It's an illness. We don't know how sick he is, but you can, get hydrated and feel pretty good and good enough to play. But I think if they get close, Bucky will punch it in, and that'll let him get to 8.25 quite easily. So we'll do another over.
All right. Going on to the next one here. Minnesota Vikings. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, just real quick, one thing of note for the Bucs, Chris Godwin has had a ridiculous 3-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Touchdown in each one, leading in yards and receptions on the team. And he becomes like this automatic start. I got to think the Eagles, I put out the short. They did exactly what they had to do to beat the Saints, exactly what I said. And I think in order to beat the Bucs, they got to get after Baker and stop Chris Godwin. So I think that a lot of people are saying no from what I've seen, but I think that Cade Otton stays relevant for the Bucs. So if you're searching for a tight end, I have a feeling he stays relevant. Now, I'm playing against you in the one league where I had him. I picked up Mr. Likely because I got a good feeling about him this week. But I think Otton stays relevant. So if you're struggling at tight end, and he might still be sitting out there even after a good week last week, he's worth a shot because I do think that Philadelphia tries to take out Godwin in this one.
I need Mike Evans to get back on track, man. So hopefully that means that if they're taking out Godwin, Evans will get some love as well. All right, Minnesota Vikings at your Green Bay Packers. Over under, Mr. Jordan Love is back. 1.5 passing touchdowns. Malik Willis did a good job filling in for him, but I would say that Love brings back a different dynamic. I believe you even mentioned it on the halftime adjustments with possibly Love coming back, what you thought about the Packers. So what do you think here, bud?
Yeah, I'm going to go under. Let's say he gets 1.
All right. Moving on to the other side, Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Addison is back. They have him at 41.5 receiving yards. Do you think over-under with Naylor has been filling in pretty well, another 5 guys for your eyes, does Jordan Addison get the ball a little bit more now compared to Naylor?
That seems like such a low number. It really does. But like we talked about when we were talking about Jamar Chase, who would put out another short for 100-yard games are few and far between. So when you see a number like 41.5, you're like, that's ridiculous because we're so used to, receivers, big name guys being able to do it quite easily.
Oh, yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many guys fall short of this number. I think Jalen Naylor, 5-guy for your eye last season as well. I think he's the real deal, and I said that way back when. And I think they're going to continue to use him, and they're going to ease Addison in a little bit. And I have a prop that I took in here, Sam Darnold over 0.5 interceptions. I think he throws 2. I could not find a prop for multiple interceptions. The odds would probably be very nice. Couldn't find one, so I just took the over 0.5 because that's all that was available. I think the Packers get after him. Like I talked about in the Tuesday halftime adjustments, answers with guests. I think that coming into Green Bay outside, he's been doing a lot of his damage indoors. And I just think that we've seen the best of Sam Darnold, and we've yet to see the worst. And I think that he makes an appearance this week. Jefferson and Jair Alexander is going to be a heck of a matchup.
Can't wait to see that.
I like Naylor for that reason. I'm not sure who's going to win that one, but I'm sure it'll get heated. But I'm going to go over with Addison because I think Green Bay is going to get this game into a position where they have a lead where Minnesota needs to throw more often than they like to. But Aaron Jones, revenge game. He's going to Lambeau leap if he scores a touchdown. I bet he gets at least one. He gets a chance to.
All right, guys. Remember to always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every one of you. George, we see your question, bud. Let me get through one more game, and then we'll answer your question for you. All right. New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Good division game, man. Over under. Taysom Hill is coming back. They had him at 19 and a half rushing yards. Kamara needed some help, it looked like last week. He was struggling. Great call by you saying the Eagles would win that game. Definitely put that short out there. As far as how this offense looks, does Taysom Hill have that ability to help it, and will he surpass this 19 and a half rushing yards?
Yeah, Philly put out the blueprint of how to beat him. Contain Kamara. I mean, he still had a ton of yards, but for the most part, they did what they had to do with him. Drop a safety deep to make sure Shaheed doesn't go over the top. Taysom Hill coming back in. Yeah, they're going to have to use him. And I talked about it a couple weeks ago. It might have been last week, the thing with Taysom Hill. He's that type of guy where it's like if they need to pull a trick out of their hat type of thing. And they didn't have to do that for the first 2 weeks. Now I think they have to do it because I think the blueprint's out there of how to at least slow the Saints down. Being on the road in Atlanta, I could see Taysom Hill going over this number, so I'll say over. And here's a guy, and I got to give you his name now because if it works out, and I give him to you on Tuesday, he's no longer a 5 guy for your eye because everybody will know. With Chris Olave possibly being out, Mr. Mason Tipton. Mason Tipton, Tipton, Tipton. That's a name to know for the Saints. And possibly Juwan Johnson, I guess. I think Taysom Hill is going to change everything quite a bit for him, so that's why I think he's going to go over this number because they're going to need him this week.
All right, flip side of it, Atlanta Falcons, yes or no? Kyle Pitts with a touchdown, had one last week. Should have had one the week before if it wasn't for an interception. What are you thinking as far as how this offense is going to go? Kirk Cousins looked a little better last week.
Pitts is on the left-hand side of my prop sheet here as well, right below Johnny Wilson. I had a question mark next to him because I was sort of, wondering, do I want to even go into that? Like I said, with my props, just like a lot of what we do here at Answers by Guess is we want to be a step ahead. We want to be inside scoop from outside the box. We can identify these players that can help us before other people do. Pitts doesn't really fall into that category. Everybody knows him, so his lines are a little inflated, especially off of the week he had last week. They get bumped up a little bit more. So I sort of just left him alone. The touchdown. I'll say, yeah, he'll get a touchdown. That's a risky one. But I think if they get close, I think the reason I'm saying yes is because as a Bijan owner, when he blipped up with his shoulder issue in the middle of the week, I started to think if they get close, are they going to give it to Algier? And I think that gives a little bit of extra percentage towards Pitts getting a touchdown, maybe a bootleg play action type Pitts in the end zone. Fake to the running back. So if it is Bijan, he doesn't bang up his shoulder too much and that everybody's scrunched in.
All right, let's get to George's question here. Someone offered me CMC and Olave for Mason and JSN. Thoughts? I'm 2-1 and have Barkley and Gibbs as my starters.
Yeah, I'm not going to take it. And here's why. They want to give you CMC to take off of your hands who's taking CMC's place and doing very well with it. That doesn't make any sense to me. If he's a CMC owner, he would probably want to hold on to CMC and take Mason from you. So, and on top of that, Olave might not even play this week. And JSN, I'm not sure, George, if this is the first time you've seen us, but I've been talking about him since the beginning of last year, waiting for him to get a shot. Towards the end of the year, he got it. He has one blow-up week this week. he, in my mind, and I think for the most part should be everybody's mind, he's overtaken Lockett as the number 2. He's special. You're trading basically 2 guys who you could have in your lineup this week. I see that you have Barkley and Gibbs as your starters, but still, Mason could be in your lineup this week for 2 guys who you can't, more than likely. I'm really nervous about Olave playing. A hamstring injury on a Friday, that's
Never
not good.
man. Never good.
And it's not good because you play him and we know what happens. He gets hurt,
especially
and they take him out of the game.
Hamstrings are the worst. Yeah. Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. All right, going on to the next game here. Jacksonville Jaguars are the Houston Texans. Mr. Gabe Davis, 10.5 fantasy points, PPR. Had a down week. I saw your 5 guys to despise. Trevor Lawrence was on that list. Looking worse than Daniel Jones, I believe, is the words that you said. Is there a way for them to get back against this Houston team that got the crap kicked out of them last week?
I'm going to go under with Gabe. I think that Kirk finally got rolling. I think Thomas, he'll hit him on one. Strange has been playing just fine. Bigsby, I think, is going to play, so they'll use the 2 backs as well. I think Gabe, early on, 5 guys for your eyes. I had him. I felt like he would be their best receiver. I thought Trevor Lawrence would play a heck of a lot better, but I'm going to say under with this. I know it's a full point PPR, but I think in order to hit that number, he's got to score a touchdown. And I just can't bank on the Jags. This game, Stroud at home is going to be much better than he has been. I do that thing on Tuesday because I thought he'd have a sophomore slump. I'm doing the countdown. He's 1-1-1. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 But I feel like the Texans at home, even without Tank Dell, should be a lot better. This could be one that there's a lot of points scored if something clicks with Trevor Lawrence, but I just can't bank on it right now.
All right, flipping on to the other side of the teams here. Houston Texans over under. Stephon Diggs, 6.5 targets, had over 10 last week. Probably his better game since joining the Texans. As far as Dell, like you said, he's out this week. How does that help Stephon Diggs to be able to possibly surpass this number?
Yeah, I think he'll get that. I can see him getting 7 plus.
All right. Mixon also seems like there could be a possibility of him playing. Akers did not look good. He got the touchdown, which gave some points. Then I know people are stat watchers. I'm nervous. I have Mixon. I have him ready to go against you this week in our main league. But I have Akers as a backup just in case. I don't even know what to do.
I'm glad you brought up Akers because I was probably one of the only people that was saying, do not play Akers. Don't play him last week. Everybody was saying, put him in. You got to. He's a starter. Somebody asked questions about Akers on our Facebook group page. Everybody's picking Akers out of the guys they have. I did not like them. And for whatever reason this week, I was like, I kind of feel like Akers is going to have a pretty good game. But then Mixon has to spoil it. So you won't even know. My guess, Mixon plays, and they sort of spell him more than usual with Akers. And Dameon Pierce, what's going on? You can't get healthy.
Can't get healthy, man. I mean, this was his opportunity to finally take some back of a role, some type of a role, anything besides a kick returner, and he missed the opportunity. Yep. All right. Well, injuries are the worst thing the injuries this year are. I know we had a lot last year. I feel like major players have really been affected by injuries. Actually, Mike came up with a name that I think he's going to change his names to. He's like Attack of the Red Qs as far as all the players in Yahoo. So, oops. Matt Stafford, Los Angeles Rams, and Chicago Bears over under 208.5 passing yards. Came back last week, was throwing and chucking the ball up to anybody that was willing to catch it. Tutu Atwell looking pretty good. Seems to be now his kind of favorite there. What are you thinking as far as Matt Stafford, if he's going to hit this number? And is it who is it to?
I'm going to go under. Outside, Chicago's a tough defense. I think both teams at this point, Chicago shouldn't have to be with the rookie quarterback, would like to control the ball. A week ago today, Rob, we were here live before week 3, and I told everybody, I said, Roshan's healthy now. It's going to be his show. And I think that he was the best runner last week. Now,
Sure was.
their biggest problem, as I talked about over the past 2 or 3 weeks, is their offensive line. It's terrible. Caleb Williams running for his life, maybe even worse than Justin Fields ever had to. But he was more athletic, so he didn't make it look as bad as Caleb's making it look. But Roshan, I hope you picked him up. I was saying to pick him up before week 3, and this week he was one of the biggest pickups out there, I believe, in waiver wire land. He's a prop for me this week. He's over 31.5 rushing yards. That is a slam. That's a slam dunk. The Rams defense, you and I talked about for a couple weeks in a row, Swiss cheese.
Oh, yeah. Mason looked good against them. I don't know why they keep on running.
I think that's what the Bears want to do, is run as much as they can. Yeah, of course, they'll pepper Odunze, Kmet, and more. Keenan Allen's coming back. They'll use the passing game if and when they have to. But I think their idea is to slow it down. Now, who is this going to help as well? I think it's going to help DeAndre Swift, guy that I loved going into the season. Unbeknownst to me, their offensive line would be terrible, but he's more of a third down guy, and I think they're going to spell him in there. So I have Swift over 1.5 receptions, and his receiving yards is 8.5.
Ooh, that's really low.
Yeah, so I slammed both of those as well. I think it's going to help Swift because it's going to get his confidence up. They have to start passing him the ball. They have to have seen the same thing that I've seen, and I'm sure millions of other people have seen. If you have the line coming after you, you should have a running back, that can't block them, like Swift. Can't block him. He's 5'8" out there. Slide out to the side and dump it off to him. Every time they do it, it works. When they don't do it, their drive stalls. So hopefully they're watching the same tapes that I am, because I think that's going to help. But Stafford's going to be under because I think they're going to burn a lot of clock off running Kyren Williams. You might see a little more Blake Corum than you've seen in this game. They'll use Whittington and Tutu, like you said, and D-Rob. But this Bears defense is real, and we knew it was going to be.
All right. Roschon Johnson was going to be the guy that I chose because I know you had mentioned him before. He was a 5 guy for your eyes. I did not go that route because Keenan Allen's coming back. I figured, why not a yes or no, 1 touchdown? Does he help the rookie? Because from my perspective, Caleb Williams had his better game last week. Yes, it was a loss still. He looked lost. The O-line is horrible. But he was kind of accurate in his throws. He did overthrow Odunze. He should have had another touchdown. Does Keenan Allen help that situation, and does he reward him by getting him in the end zone?
It's tough. Taking too many yeses on these touchdown ones is a losing proposition. It really is. I mean, predicting a touchdown is one of the worst hobbies, I guess, habits that you could have because they're so random. They really are. I'm going to say no. However, I do think that if they get close, like he might be used sparingly, maybe third down if they need something, or if they get close, he'll look for him in the end zone because he is short-handed.
Yep.
So I could be wrong, but I'm going to say no on this because I think that if they get close, they're going to rely on Roschon for at least a play, maybe Caleb, and Kmet's still there. And he finally rose up.
What a great game he had last week. And that's what I'm saying. Caleb, if he can get rid of the ball quicker, if the O-line can hold for an extra second and a half, I think it changes the whole dynamic of the way the Bears are playing. All right, next one here. Cincinnati Bengals at the Carolina Panthers. Over under Chase Brown, 42.5 total yards. Came in, looked good. Moss had the touchdown, but this Cincinnati team is reeling right now. 0-3. Everyone's telling Burrow to dye his hair back to a different color. Maybe that'll help him. I thought he actually played okay. Great call on Chase over the 100 yards. Do you think Chase Brown will surpass this total in this offense?
if the Bengals went into, you know, their sessions this week and we're like, we're just not able to get over the hump. What are we doing wrong? Oh, we're using Zach Moss way too much. You just look at 2 or 3 plays where Zach Moss is on the field, and then look at the 2 or 3 out of 3 drives that they give Chase Brown. And you could just see he's so much more explosive. He's stronger. They just neglect to use him. It's very frustrating. I had some plays on him, and he didn't get them. I think he fell half short and a couple yards. And it was just like he's never on the field. So I have to say under, because until they snap out of this Zach Moss first 5 weeks of 2023 infatuation, they're going to continue to struggle. Chase Brown's the best running back they have. They don't use him enough.
All right. Flip side, Andy Dalton looked fantastic. You called it. Thielen was going to get hurt. I figured, why not throw a curveball here? Xavier Leggett or Jonathan Mingo? Who has more receiving yards? I love it. I saw on Answers with Guests, Leggett was a previous Five Guys for Your Eye. I think Mingo was a Five Guys for Your Eye last year. And you even mentioned Marshall before he got traded.
They both were this year because I said Carolina wide receivers and Thielen and Deontay because Thielen's going to get hurt.
Yep. So you had all of them. Obviously, Marshall no longer with them. Who you think is going to have the more receiving yards in the better game?
I was just talking to you before this. I missed a college play that I wanted to take because it was grocery shopping. Well, on the way home from grocery shopping, I'm thinking to myself, I was like, all right, who's going to do better? Is it going to be Leggett or is it going to be me? It's like, I want to say Leggett because I feel like he's just the better specimen. But for whatever reason, I can't slam the door and lock it in. I feel like it's going to be Leggett, so I'm going to say it's Leggett. But I fear that, it could be both. Maybe they use both. They're going to use both, and it could be very similar. But I fear that
very similar last game before Thielen got hurt.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of people will play Leggett over Mingo, and what'll happen is Mingo will outscore Leggett. It's just the way this is. These two are that close, but Leggett has all the better intangibles, so I'm going to take him for this question because if I was able to pick up one or the other, I'd pick up, or both, I'd pick up Leggett first because I just think his prospects are just a little higher. So I'll do that. Now, I also looked at Chuba in this, and I looked at Miles Sanders again. I hit them both last week with them, but I laid off. I laid off of Chuba and Miles Sanders. The trade deadline is going to be nice for the Panthers because they're going to be sharing a lot of players with other teams. Miles Sanders is going to be one of them. He's going to help somebody. He's going to help somebody this season.
Clowney I saw on the move possibly as well. A lot of Jets rumors of trying to pick up Clowney. So the revenge game I had mentioned previously, Andy Dalton. Yeah. I don't see it that way. I think
it's so far removed. It's like 2 decades ago.
They're bringing it up on all these networks. A revenge game. He's going to look fantastic, so on and so forth.
He's played for 12 teams since then.
Exactly. So it's like, come on, stop that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one here. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. Over under. One of our guys that we've been talking about, it feels like for years and years and years, won't go away. Cordarrelle Patterson, 6.5 fantasy points, half PPR. Warren out. Najee playing pretty damn good. Fields looking like he's running, and this whole entire offense is actually clicking. We mentioned Pickens last week. He's getting the ball, but it's either a penalty or a pass interference and stuff like that. What are we thinking? Your boy Calvin Austin, I know you mentioned him on Tuesday. What a touchdown, man.
Yeah. With no Warren, and Artie Smith just loves Patterson. He loved him in Atlanta. Now he loves him for the Steelers. He's going to hit this number. He's going to hit this number. I would not play him in fantasy. I mean, even if like Mixon sat, well, I said I kind of liked Akers. So I would say I'd play Akers over. I would not. I would not own him. I want nothing to do with him. I feel like if he has a really solid game and far exceeds this number, I think it's like a last hurrah for him. If and when Warren comes back, they need to just put him on the shelf. But you mentioned Pickens, and he is my.
Oh yeah,
he finally gets his touchdown this week. Nice, big, long touchdown. Nice, big, fat, long touchdown for Georgie. It's going to happen. This is another game where I feel like the two teams would be very happy going into and just sort of running the ball and just sort of taking the air out of it. I mean, Anthony Richardson can't even throw. Makes everybody on their team worthless except for Jonathan Taylor. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they might be the best defense in football.
Sure looks that way, man.
They're pretty ridiculous. But I think Patterson goes over this because I think they're going to use him extra, obviously, with Warren out.
All right. You mentioned Anthony Richardson. You said one of your 5 guys to despise was Michael Pittman, but it was more of Anthony Richardson. Yeah. That interception that he threw in the end zone was horrible. There was 4 guys around one. He was like, "Oh, it got tipped." Even if it got tipped, it was getting intercepted. I felt like. Yeah. But the over under 219.5 passing and rushing yards, so total yards. As far as for Anthony Richardson, Taylor looked good. He had some big runs, which took the ball out of Richardson's hands. Do you think he'll hit this? Some good ones this week, right, bud?
Well, the thing is, if it's yes, there's only one reason. It's he quits being scared to run. I mean, he flat out said, "I'm not going to change the way I play." But so far through 3 weeks, he's changed the way he plays. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been running.
Yep.
If he runs, he hits this because I think he'll hit 90 yards rushing. Because, yes, the Steelers, I just said, are probably the best defense in the league. Yes, they're preparing as if they're facing a running quarterback. But in the back of their head, they also have, he's not running very much this year, if at all. So just make sure you lock down the receivers and get that interception or get after them and sack them. But if he turns the page, goes back a page, so be it, and reverts back to a running quarterback, he'll hit this number and he'll put a little bit of heat on Justin Fields to do the same. This game and the way it goes, for fantasy purposes, I think is going to have a lot to do with Anthony Richardson. If he runs the ball and puts the pressure on the Steelers offense, the Colts defense is terrible, but puts the pressure on the Steelers offense to keep up with however far, if he gets down field goals, touchdowns, whatever, gets the Colts into position. This game will be a little more high scoring, a little more faster paced, and these two quarterbacks run around the field. I mean, isn't that what we want to see?
Yeah,
like we want to see this day and age. That's what we like. Kind of have a feeling he's going to run some this week. So I'm going to say over with this.
All right. If you had to start him or CJ Stroud, who would you start?
I'm going to start Stroud because he's better at home, and that's where he is. And after a bad game last week, I think he wants to get back after it.
I like it. All right. Last 1:00 game. Denver Broncos at my New York Jets. Over under Cortland Sutton, 44.5 receiving yards. Came on last week. He had a okay week 1. Didn't have an okay week 2. The targets have been there, though. I don't think week 2 he had a bunch, but over 10 targets in the other 2 games. Bo Nix actually looked like a quarterback. This Jets defense, though, is pretty damn good. What do you think? Do they actually shut him down, or does he get over this?
Well, Denver did, kind of what we thought. You got to go to Mile High. And now they got to do the opposite of sort of what we said last week. Is now you got to travel across the country, play a 10 a.m. game your time.
Yep.
This Jets defense is going to get all over the rookie. I think Devon Vele is going to
Vele.
play this week. He's a big dude, and the reason that a lot of people don't know who he is because of how old he is. He's like 27 years old, 26, 27. He's a rookie. He fell down the draft boards for that very reason, but Bo Nix liked him, and I think that's going to help Sutton. And I'm going to take the over in this. I know it's the vaunted Jets secondary, but I think that the Jets defense is just going to be so smothering and their offense is clicking. I think Mike Williams is going to finally further awaken. He took steps towards it last week, almost had a touchdown. I think the Jets are going to pummel them, and Broncos are going to be in aired out mode relatively early, and that's going to get them over this number.
All right, flipping it to the other side. Alan Lazard, yes or no, 1 touchdown, has 3 touchdowns in total, only within 3 games. I think 2 out of the 3 he had. So does he make it 3 out of 4 with this Jets offense that looked pretty good against New England last week, started to click, still had a lot of errors, but Lazard is pretty much his favorite target, it seems like, especially with everybody doubling Wilson or keeping somebody over the top on Wilson.
Yeah, this is one where I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no, because I think that Wilson scores 1 this week. I think Hall scores 1 this week. And I think either Williams or Conklin get 1 this week. So I'm going to say no.
All right. Going on to the 4 o'clock games here. New England Patriots at the San Francisco 49ers. Polk, I don't know. I had a feeling about Polk. 2.5 receptions. It seemed low to me against a San Francisco team that they're giving up. I feel like receptions. I feel like they're giving up yards. Look at what happened with the second half with the Rams. I know Debo's coming back for their side, but can Polk help this offense? Brissett actually starting to click a little bit. Hunter Henry was going to be the person I was going to put, but I'm like, you know what? I kind of like Polk at 2.5 receptions here. I'm going to go the over on him. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I have it.
You got the same one?
It's on my sheet. And I also have over 20.5 receiving yards.
Nice.
I have it. So it's yes. They sparingly used him. And now they're going into San Francisco. And San Francisco defense is still, good defense. And you saw what Stafford had to do to come back. You got to use everybody. And you can't just give it to Bourne every time or Douglas every time. And because of that, I think that Polk they've almost been hiding him for a few weeks. I think he's going to have a very nice game. I think he's going to have about 6 receptions.
Ooh, I like it. So I'm going to go change mine to 4.5 receptions and get probably 3 or 4 times what I'm actually at right now.
Yeah.
All right. I have to put it. Obviously, I had to choose it. The way you started the answers with guest show was Juwan. Sorry. So, I had to put it on here. 13.5 fantasy points. I forgot to put that, but PPR. As far as him, you've been mentioning him for the last couple of years. This should have been a short that you should have made as well, putting him out there. I think you could probably put clips for the last 3 years. You've been calling his name for a while. Finally showed up. Ayuk, I don't know, even getting in trouble during practice for wearing the wrong color shorts or something like that. Doesn't seem to be on the right page. Dropping balls all over the place. Yeah. Debo's coming back, though. Yeah. So is this a high number now for a Juwan Jennings with Debo coming back and Kittle coming back?
Yeah, I'm going to go under. Because the whole gang is there, and they're playing the Patriots. How much are they really going to have to throw? Purdy's hurt. He's got a back issue, I believe. They're just going to put it on Jordan Mason, and they're going to build a lead, and they're going to salt it away. It's not going to be – what do you have to worry about when you're going against Jacoby Brissett? I mean, I'm under.
Nothing. I hate to say it that way, but – all right. Let's go on to another game here. Washington Commanders at the Arizona Cardinals. Over under Jaden Daniels, 1.5 passing touchdowns. He had that offense clicking, man. Right now in the lead for Rookie of the Year, right there with Neighbors. He finally understood what McLaurin's trying to do. I feel like I think this team could beat this Cardinals. Do we see him having these passing touchdowns? And who the hell is he throwing them to?
Yeah, if Trey McBride was playing, this probably would set up as like game of the year 4 weeks in, because this one could be high flying back and forth. Kyler at home, he's always better there. The Cardinals defense relatively solid. They're a sneaky one for everybody to keep their eye on as we get going into the season. We're always looking for a streaming defense. They're not too bad, even in this one. Jaden Daniels, everybody's in love with him all of a sudden after his game last week, and I don't know, rightly so, I suppose. It's tough with the two passing. Because I really like Brian Robinson in this game. I think finally they uncorked Terry McLaurin, so we're going to be pouring some out for him quite often. I'm going to say under. I say he gets one passing, and I think he goes to Terry.
I like it. Hey, listen, don't be putting that out there because you have Olave that's banged up and you're going to play McLaurin. Are you going to play Jaden Daniels too and fantasize me?
Stick with Tyler.
All right, next one here. Flip side, Michael Wilson. Been seeing him everywhere. Like you said, McBride is out. Does that make a difference for Michael Wilson? Has seen the ball a few times. Has degressed, though, since week 1. Target share isn't there. Seemed to be going more to McBride. Obviously, Harrison Jr. Does he reach 5.5 targets?
He's on my list. He's under Johnny Wilson. So I had Pitts, Johnny Wilson, Michael Wilson, all on the left. I did not touch him. And the reason being is everybody is automatically thinking, because he was pretty good last week, everybody's thinking, oh, no Trey McBride. It's got to go somewhere. It's going to go to him. Well, Dortch is going to be back. Dortch.
So I have somebody in mind that I think
they're going to throw it to. They're going to throw to Dortch, and then the backup tight end, Elijah Higgins. If you don't know the name, he's worth a scoop and play. If it's barren wasteland out there for tight ends and you're a Trey McBride owner, this dude, he's been involved in games. I think he has a touchdown already. It might have been week 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
He's an athlete, and he's a pretty good tight end. I don't think the targets automatically go to Michael Wilson. I don't. I think 5.5 targets, maybe. If Washington gets it going, maybe he gets to 6. But I think his catch number, his reception number is right around that, 4.5, 5.5, I believe. If you were to go look up a Michael Wilson prop, because it is so inflated because the whole world automatically thought, oh, Michael Wilson blew up when Trey McBride went out. He's the only other show in town. He's a stud. It's going to be him this week. I'm not so sure. With Dortch and Elijah Higgins, I think that Kyler's going to have some balls to throw around. I think that we're going to see also a good dose of Mr. Connor. I can't recommend him, but I kind of like him.
It was bad last week.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say his name. But I kind of feel like it's going to be a pretty good game for him. 5.5 targets, that doesn't seem that high, but I'm still going to go under. I'm going to go under.
I'm so happy that you mentioned Higgins. He's at 1.5 receptions. I think he quadruples that, I feel like. I think he's going to be that sneaky play. I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you are looking for a tight end, I think Higgins is going to surprise people because he can fit in right in where McBride is. And I think Kyler has enough faith in him to be able to throw him the ball. So I'm taking, I think it's 1.5 receptions was the last thing I saw for him. And it was like maybe 11.5 yards or something like that. Yeah. I'm taking the over on both those.
Yeah, I agree to that.
All right. Chaka's back. What's up there, Chaka? Long time no see, bud. Hope you are well. Hey, would you trade Kamara and Amari Cooper for Connor and AJ Brown? PPR redraft.
And Cooper for Connor and AJ Brown. No. I wouldn't. I know Kamara's a little banged up. I know Cooper's got terrible quarterback play. He had Butterfingers before last week. But I was a Connor guy his second season when nobody knew who he was because he was out with, I think, like leukemia or something his rookie year. And since then, I was just team anti James Conner, and he's continued to produce. But I'm not going to recommend it. I know AJ Brown's coming back.
He's out this week, so it looks like it'll be at least one more week without AJ Brown.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think I'm going to ride Kamara till the wheels fall off.
I agree. I'm going to probably look to trade Kamara. I don't know when your trade deadline is, but as the weeks go on, if we see a little bit more of a regression every single week, I'll try to see that mid value, be able to try to trade him off eventually. I have Kamara in a couple leagues as well. I wouldn't make this deal.
In all honesty, it's not a terrible trade.
It's not.
It's really not. It's relatively even. Just the two guys. I mean, would I rather have AJ Brown than Cooper? Probably. But I
think you got to keep on running Kamara, man.
I feel like you could get something better for Kamara.
Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. All right, going on to the next game here. Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Over under
Kamara.
Kamara.
What did I call him? I don't even know the way to say it anymore. I confused myself.
Kansas City Chiefs at Los Angeles Chargers. Over under Travis Kelce, 9.5 fantasy points, half PPR. Everyone's beating the crap out of him. Seems like he doesn't know how to play football anymore. I don't know. I honestly think it's the game plans that I'm seeing against the defenses. They want everybody else to beat them besides Travis Kelce. Has he been perfect? I don't think so as well, but I think he's getting a lot of flack that he shouldn't be to a certain extent. Is this a get-right game where it seems like the Chargers, Herbert is playing, but their defense is banged up, man?
Yeah, I'll go over. I think we can get to 10. Chaka asked a follow-up question down there.
Are you worried about Kamara's injury, though? Haven't heard many updates.
Yes. Yes, I am. And you know what? Like Jamal Williams behind him, nobody wants him. He's available in like 99% of leagues. He's old. He came in the league the same time as Aaron Jones, which is crazy. They were rookies together. And then Kendre Miller, who can never stay healthy, who's coming off of IR, I think, next week. Those would be the fill-ins. I know Kamara's injury, but to be honest, Connor is always a play or two away from an injury. They're birds of a feather, those two, to me. And, yeah, I kind of like AJ Brown more than Amari Cooper, but I just feel like you could get more. I want a different running back. Can you get somebody? You get somebody other than James Conner in that trade, and I probably would have said yes. Snap, yes. But for whatever reason, I just Trey Benson looming, his injury history. I just don't want a part of it. It's even, Chaka. Here's the thing: it's even. If you like it, I'm fine with it. Would I do it? No, because I would try and get more. Because even after his down week last week, which really wasn't even a down week, I think he was still close to 100 all-purpose yards. I think you could get more for Kamara. That's all I'm saying. I want something more than Connor.
All right, going on the flip side of this one, Los Angeles Chargers over under J.K. Dobbins, 56.5 rushing yards, went up against the tough Pittsburgh defense, had about 15 or 16 carries, didn't do very much with it. This Chiefs defense is pretty good as well. What are you thinking as far as J.K. Dobbins?
Is this the week? I don't want to put Juju on someone, but is this the week?
Say it out loud.
Feels like the week.
It might be. Don't say it. No, I'm not going to say it. No, I honestly think he's going to go over. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because I think that the same concept that you had mentioned in a previous game, this is going to be a run first game for the Chargers. Herbert is banged up. They're going to want to keep the ball out of his hands. I think it's going to be quick passes. We could see a Hayden Hurst game, and I think J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are going to get the ball a lot.
They don't use Gus Edwards.
I think they're going to use him more this week. They
I
have
do
to
too.
change it up.
I do too, and that's why I'm going to say under.
All right.
All things considered, I'm saying under. Because I do think they're going to use Gus. They haven't used Gus at all. Gus is Gus, but we've seen him bust a couple before. We know he can pound for 6+ with ease. Chiefs are a good defense. Every time Dobbins steps on the field, I get worried. And this week, I'm worried. I'm going under.
All right. You are welcome, Chaka. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for being here.
All right, going on to the next game here. Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. Over under Jerry Jeudy, 3.5 receptions. He's been pretty much on that. His target share is there. It is still Deshaun Watson against the Raiders team that doesn't have Max Crosby, so the pressure isn't going to be as much. Do we see him being able to get over this 3.5 receptions?
Yeah, the only thing I worry about this is Cleveland defense at full strength. The Raiders don't want to play football anymore after losing to the Panthers. I'm not even sure Adams is hurt. I think he just doesn't even want to play for this team.
Is he one of the ones he quit that Pierce was talking about?
I think so. He's going to go to the Jets. I called that a while ago. Now I hear a lot of people saying it. It's going to happen. I'm going to go over.
All right.
I think that Watson is going to view this with them laying down. He's going to view it as like a get right game. Let me just have fun out here playing against this team that doesn't care. And wouldn't surprise me if Watson just has an amazing game in this because he's playing loose and free against a team and defense that looks like they gave up, which sucks because they love Antonio Pierce. So why would you quit on him like that? But 'tis what it is. Maybe they got to put Aiden O'Connell back in. I don't know. But I'll go over for Jerry.
I was surprised when Minshew came out of the game, man. Again, such a couple good weeks coming back on Baltimore to take him out of the game was just, again, a weird situation. All right, flip side. This one's an interesting one. Over under Trey Tucker, 17.5 longest reception. I see everybody wanting to pick up Trey Tucker because he's going to have a long one this week. Everyone keeps on mentioning he's going to have a long one this week. Is he going to have a long one this week?
Yeah. I'll say yeah, over. That's his game. That's his entire game.
I see Myers probably with about 5 or 6 catches, and Bowers I think is going to be. This is his get right game. He's going to be Njoku. He's going to be the Njoku for Watson as for what he is now from Minshew to Bowers. I think he's going to have like 10 receptions this game.
Yeah. Tucker might have 2 catches. One will be for 43. Another one for 19. So let's do it.
All right, Sunday Night Football, Buffalo Bills at Baltimore Ravens. Over under James Cook, 76.5 total yards. Buffalo beat the crap out of, I can't even remember the team, to be honest with you, off the top of my head right now. But they just waxed them. What team was it? Jacksonville. They kicked the crap out of Jacksonville.
Kicking the crap out of everybody. I mean, aside from their week 1.
I made the worst trade ever. I traded Josh Allen for Pat Mahomes, and I regret every single second of that now for the first 3 weeks here.
3 weeks in.
Overreaction, but we'll see. Baltimore's run defense is pretty good, man.
Yeah. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under because Allen is back to running. And I think they're going to need all hands on deck. Keon Coleman is 2 of my props this week. At least one. I don't think I took his yards based on what I'm seeing here. But I do have him over 2.5 receptions. I think they're going to need to use him this week. They played 2 games. He was their number 1 wide receiver week 1. And then the last 2 weeks, they've just blown out Miami and blown out Jacksonville. So they destroyed Florida. And now they got to come back up to the Northeast and play against a real football team. And I think they're going to need all hands on deck. So Keon Coleman is over 2.5 receptions. And I locked that one in. Not sure what his yardage total was, but I didn't take it. So must have been above what I wanted to.
I think it was above 40. If I think it was like 41 and a half.
That's too much. Like 28 and a half, I might have touched it, but I think they're going to use everybody. I think they're going to use Shakir.
Johnson's been getting love.
Cade, right. And Ray Davis will be in the game every week. He's getting a few extra plays. So I just don't see James Cook being able to destroy like he did against Miami.
He still could have 2 touchdowns, but he may not get the yardage. All right, flip side of this. Derrick Henry, 16.5 rushing attempts, had 25 last week. I think it was like 18 or 19 the week before, but it was way under that as far as week 1. Carried the team last week. Again, very close game, almost gave up the lead or almost gave up the game at the end of it, but Derrick Henry kept them in. What are you thinking as far as this one?
Yeah, that number's low enough. He's really the only show in town. He can get to 17 rushing attempts. If it falls short, he's going to at least get to like 14, but I'll take the over. I wouldn't bet it, but I think he can get to 17. As I said earlier, I love Isaiah Likely this week. I think it's another same exact sort of situation. They are going to need to utilize their tight ends in this one. This game is very much like the week 1 game. This week 1, when they played against Kansas City, Andrews at that point in time was different than Andrews now, just coming off the accident and all that. So Likely was practiced more as being the one. But now they're playing against a Buffalo Bills team whose offense is actually, like you said, better than the Chiefs at this point in time. So, I mean, they're scoring like 40 points a game, it seems, plus. So I think Baltimore is going to need to push the ball and throw. And I like Isaiah Likely over 2.5 receptions. I like him over 26.5 yards. And I like him to get a touchdown. That's one of my favorite plays of the weekend. That's why I picked him up, and I'm playing him this week against you, Rob.
I saw that, man. Yeah, and it's funny, as I actually was thinking about picking him up as well since Njoku went out. I have Hunter Henry. I'm like, man, Likely keeps on looking at me. I do some work within the next half an hour. You picked up Likely. So
listen, everybody rushed to get him after week 1. After 2 weeks of nothing, they dumped him. And what have we been saying for 8 seasons? Fantasy football, it's a roller coaster ride. It's ebbs and flows. There's ups and there's downs, especially with guys like this. He's ready to hit that high. Will it look like week 1? Probably not. I don't need it to. Week 1, he had like 6, 7, 8 receptions for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns or whatever. And I just need him to get to 27 yards, 3 catches, and give me a TD.
Dude, if you get above 6 from a tight end, you are winning nowadays.
That's it.
It's funny. I was going to put Zay Flowers here. I was going to put Rashad Bateman here. I was like, let me go with Derrick Henry. But I think those guys are going to be needed for this game. Buffalo.
Everybody, all hands on deck. I think they're going to have to throw more than they would like to. Last week, they had a ton of carries out of Henry because they were steamrolling Dallas. A lot of people just look at that score and say, wow, that must have been a good game. No. They were up like 28-3, and then Dallas came storming back with like 3 touchdowns in the final 6-7 minutes.
Yeah.
So this game's not going to be like that.
All right, let's get on to the Monday night ones here. Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. Yes or no? DeAndre Hopkins 1 touchdown. We saw the DeAndre Hopkins of old. Levis was throwing him the ball. How do we feel about that? Ridley had 0, if I was not mistaken, or very low, maybe 1 catch or something like that, against this reeling Dolphins team that the defense actually played okay, but their offense, does it take a change? They're my next ones, obviously. But what do you think about DeAndre?
I was looking to see if I had a sound effect on my stupid new toy where I can say, can't do it. Mike Singletary.
It's a good one.
I can't do it. No.
All right. Flip side of the ball.
Oh, real quick. Tajay Spears, over 11.5 receiving yards. I like this week.
All right. You know, that's a dude. Spears and Pollard, I get confused. I have to look at the number to see because it looks like the same exact player when they're playing.
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing the same thing. I think that Spears has been better compared to Pollard. Pollard has been getting a little bit more burn, obviously, but it looks like the same player. I don't know. I have to look at the number to be able to figure out who's on the field.
It's a true 1A, 1B, even though Pollard's been more dominant. It really is.
All right. But the other one on the other side, Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill, each with 4.5 receptions, over under. Seems like Huntley is going to be the starter this week. Does that help the situation out for Miami? I'm seeing so many Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill trades, questions, dropping Jalen Waddle. That was one of the biggest ones I saw. I'm like, who the hell is dropping Jalen Waddle? But
I'm going to say, yeah. I kind of feel like if it loses, it's Waddle with like 4 and Reek with like 6. But I'm going to say yes. And I also, because I took it last week, it was one of my losses, the Jonnu Smith. I like him this week. Tyler Huntley loves the tight end. 14.5 receiving yards.
Oh, that's it?
Give it to me. Give it to me.
You like those props, man. I gotta start following those props, I think, a little bit more.
You gotta take these lesser known, lesser loved guys with these low numbers. And
inside scoop from outside the box, brother.
They hit. Not all the time. It's not a guarantee. And the odds are usually pretty good. They're usually close. Like minus 114, something like that, because like they know they're not getting a ton of action on Jonnu Smith. But then you look at like Tyreek Hill, and his number's like 72.5. It's like, why are you going to mess with that when all you need out of Jonnu is 1 or 2 catches to get you 15 yards?
I like
with a quarterback who loves the tight end. Look what he did in Baltimore. So.
All right, last but not least, Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions, the other Monday night football game. Over under. Welcome back, Mr. Kenneth Walker III, 71.5 total yards against the Detroit Lions defense that, I don't know, it depends on what defense shows up this week, I feel like. They've been playing okay, but the offense hasn't been there, so they've been on the field a little bit too much, in my opinion. Charbonnet's look good. Does he fit now and take over that main role again, and Charbonnet gets pushed back?
It's crazy. Like that number, that's like a hard was even Charbonnet didn't even really get right around there. He didn't blow that out of the water. And because I think they're going to mix, and I love JSN and what's his face? Lockett hasn't gone anywhere. Metcalf, I still think is going to have a fine game. You get the Monday Night Magic, so you know the receivers are going to be good. I'm going to go under, because I think he'll be at most on the field 60% of the time. I think now that they got Charbonnet warmed up, now they know they can just use the two close to even. So I'm going to go under.
All right, flip side of the ball, Mr. Jared Goff, over under 243.5 passing yards. Seattle has been giving up some yards, but their defense and their secondary has actually been pretty good. He's hit this only once, I want to say, this year. It's not the Jared Goff that we've been seeing, though, and it really makes me nervous. Laporta banged up. St. Brown is looking okay. Gibbs is getting the ball, but it's not the same kind of Gibbs and explosion that we're seeing. I feel like Montgomery really is the only kind of player that we're seeing play to his caliber that he did last year, and obviously Jameson Williams have come out of nowhere. But do you see him being able to get over this yardage?
That's a high number.
Sure is. It's a Monday night football game, prime time, bro.
I'm gonna say over because he's at home, and I like not Geno, but the Seahawks offensive players, and I think they'll be able to do some things even if the Lions defense makes them struggle. I mean, Sam Howell comes in the game, it's going to uncork their offense even more, I think. And so I think Detroit's going to have to stay on the gas pedal. He can get some of those yards with Gibbs. So I'm going to go over. I think it's 245, just over.
Just over. All right. That's all I got. Do we want to go to questions from the Facebook
Let's take care of those. Let's take care of those.
All right. Let's rock and roll. Let me change this up real quick. Bear with me 1 second. Boomski. Boomski. All right. Landon with the first question here. Can use for the show tomorrow. Thank you, Landon. Appreciate that. Pick 2 wide receivers to start. Addison, Kirk, Hopkins, Michael Wilson, and Jameson Williams.
I'm going to go with Kirk and J-Mo. I'm going with the Monday Night Magic for him to bust one. I think that game will be a little more high-scoring, electric. I'm going with Kirk and Jameson Williams. I'm going with the 2 games that I think are going to be Michael Wilson, but there's other weapons there, and he's only on this list because of pretty much the world was automatically saying, it's going to be Michael Wilson. So I'm going Kirk and Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams will be the least used, but he has the highest ceiling, and he gives you a shot on Monday night.
All right. Next one here. Darren with a question. Stuck between Jalen Waddle flex or trying to pick up Michael Wilson, Jacoby Myers, or do I dare say Jahan Dotson?
Yeah, things changed. And with Snoop Huntley in there, you got to go Waddle. Just stick with him. I mean, I can see it with Myers. I'm just not a Jacoby guy. I can't recommend him. He's on my list with Connor and a few other guys. So I'm going to go with Waddle. I'm sticking with Waddle.
All right. I originally had answered this question. I had told him to pick up Michael Wilson. I started reading more about Higgins and his use. I am going to agree with you. Now that Huntley is the quarterback, I will go with Jalen Waddle as well. All right. Josh Smith with a question here. I have Anthony Richardson and Andy Dalton. Would you drop Dalton and play any of these available QBs? Baker, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Huntley, Carr, and Minshew.
I kind of want to ride Dalton until the wheels fall off. However, I think I would be okay dropping Dalton and picking up Caleb Williams.
It's exactly what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Keith with a question. I got smacked up with injuries last minute. Do I pick up Witt from the Rams or Trey Tucker since Devontae Adams is out, or Mingo? My league gives bonuses for big touchdowns, so thinking Trey.
Yeah, I think I answered this one. I think this was the one where I was like, I'm just going to answer it.
Okay.
That's his game. And like we said earlier, that's Trey Tucker's game. So if you get bonuses for big touchdowns, just go with it. Out of the 3, I think he is the least safe, the least consistency. I would say probably we don't know with Domingo Leggett, like Rob's question and like my thoughts all week long to myself. I think it's going to be more Leggett, but Mingo's going to be involved. I think Whittington is right in the middle of the 2. Might even be more safe than Mingo, to be honest. We haven't seen him really blow up. Depending on how big those bonuses are and what the rest of the matchup looks like, I would say throw Trey Tucker out there and go for it. But if you want to be a little safer, I think Jordan Whittington is probably a pretty good idea.
All right. Next one here. Whoa, man. Josue with a question. Should I add any of these players to my bench and for who? Picked up Evan Ingram since Mark Andrews isn't doing anything, but I'm okay with dropping him. So he Gabe Davis, Michael Wilson, Christian Watson, Robinson, Downs, Humphrey, Atwell, Legette's out
Leggett.
there. Bateman's out there too. That's
Yeah.
actually not two bad ones there. We saw Mingo. I can't read the rest. To be honest, Douglas, I think it is. And I can't read the other ones to be honest with you. Trey Tucker, Palmer.
Yeah, he doesn't have any running backs anywhere. He just showed wide receivers.
So the bench on the left is his bench. So White, Williams,
And to
Algier.
be honest, I mean, based on the performance of these guys, Roshan, I think, is on the upswing.
I would play him over probably a lot of these guys.
I would think I would take a stab and play Roshan this week. Is that what he wants to do? Put him in their flex? He wants to drop Ingram. That's fine. He wants to drop a bench guy and pick up one of these wide receivers. If you're doing it, I'm taking Leggett. I'm taking the rookie with the highest upside. Yeah. Ingram for Leggett. But if there's running backs available, I'd look at them as well because you do have Addison sitting there. And I don't know who your other wide receivers are, but I'm fine. Drop Ingram, pick up Leggett. That's what I do.
I know this is going to sound crazy. Tutu Atwell keeps on poking his head for me. I feel like Stafford has been going to him since these other two guys have been out. I still would play Roshan or Leggett probably over Atwell, but it's somebody that I'm paying attention to. He's on my watch list all over the place.
Keith said someone picked up Tucker. All right, so go with Whittington.
All right. If Debo is a go, which it seems like he is more than likely going to be, would you start him?
I'm not. And here's why. You're playing the Patriots. You're not going to need him out there going full force. The Niners don't want him going out there full force. They'll be out there enough. Worst case scenario, there's a re-injury in the game. That's kind of why even if Olave plays, I might just bench him because I can't stand going into a game with a guy who's hurt and you should have known better. No, I'm not playing him. I'll find somebody else. If this was a game against like the Packers or the Cowboys or somebody who's going to have a better shot at scoring some points, I feel a little better starting him in case. But against the Patriots, I don't think they're going to need him much. So I'm not even going to use him.
All right, Antonio with a few questions. Hi, friends. What's up there, bud? Jacobs, Henry, Ford, Connor, or Jennings need 3?
Well, I can't recommend Connor. So I'm gonna do the first 3. Jacobs, Henry, Ford. Give me the 3 running backs.
All right. In other hands, since I don't know Mostert, I guess, it seems like he's still questionable. Will play. I need a runner. Who do I drop? Dobbs or Pierce? And who do I get? Allen from the Jets, Wilson, Pirine, Javonte Williams, or Tajay Spears?
I thought it was Angie. I was like, who's that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Angie.
I'm going to go with Tajay.
I'm going with Tajay as well.
Braylon Allen would probably be my choice on this one, but
I'm going with Tajay. And I would drop Pierce.
I agree. Pierce would be the one I would drop as well, especially with Love coming back. I want to see who he's throwing to. And you are very welcome. Oh, and a very tough one. Kelsey or Goddard?
I like Kelsey this week, but I can't bench Goddard with both guys out.
I'm honestly, if you have a flex spot, I would play both and see who you're flexing out. That may be the choice there. All right. Always look for that merch, guys. $25 for t-shirts and $45 for hoodies. I have some more questions I forgot to put onto our presentation. They are from Jeremy, Demarcus Robinson, or Kirk.
We're going with Kirk.
I agree. I would go with Kirk as well. I guess this is another league. Demarcus Robinson or Gabe Davis?
I'll go D-Rob.
All right. And are we trusting Walker this week, or will Charbonnet be the one to start?
60-40 at best for Walker. That's what I'm forecasting.
All right. And I have a question for you as well, my friend. I need somebody for a flex spot. Steele, Braylon Allen, or McConkey.
Ooh.
Oh, and I have Trey Tucker as well.
I think McConkey is your safest.
With Herbert playing, right?
Yeah, but I really want to go back to the well with Steele, but I think you're just better just using McConkey.
All right, let's get to live questions here. Michael with a question. Keenan Allen against a Badge Ram secondary or Jacoby Myers with Adams out?
Yeah, we talked about Keenan Allen earlier. I can't recommend Jacoby, but I feel like he's the right answer. I just feel like that's
share is going to be
way more volume.
Yeah,
way more volume.
Definitely more volume than you would see for Keenan Allen.
And when he's been the guy, even sometimes with Adams, we've seen him flash as early as last year, recently as last year. So he's going to have more volume. If I recommend him to you, you know what's going to happen. But there it is.
All right, Michael with another one. Need two flex players between Hubbard, Pollard, McLaurin, and Keenan Allen, or should I just bench Stevenson and move Hubbard or Pollard to the running back spot?
Yeah, Stevenson got hurt last week. It's a very quiet injury that not a lot of people are talking about.
Tough Niners D2, man. I would probably bench Stevenson and go with.
I'd be fine with
my answer.
I'd go with Hubbard. I don't know who your other running back is, but I kind of want to play Pollard too. I want to play them both.
So he says he can play two flexes and he can move Hubbard to the running back spot.
Okay, so do that, and then I'm going to use Pollard and McLaurin.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. Hubbard, Pollard, McLaurin would be the choices. Same league, Ertz or Parkinson at tight end?
Gosh.
I'm going to go with Ertz.
That's fine. I mean, he's been involved, and Daniels is looking for him. I kind of want to say Parkinson, but it's like he's just not my cup of tea. But they need pass catchers, the Rams. So
you can go Parkinson, man.
I did.
All right. He says Kamara is his other running back, can leave Pollard in the flex. Yeah. Would need one more flex if move one to running back spot. So, we went Pollard, McLaurin, and Hubbard. Take out Stevenson.
Yep. That's what I'm doing.
That's all I got, brother. Oops, wrong one.
Not too bad. I mean, ABG3P shaved about 20 minutes off.
About that.
But I feel like we still chatted a little bit.
I figured why not go a little different this time, right? Get the little propositions out here. I know I like looking for some prop bets. These are some of the ones that caught my eye and thought at least we get some major players, some guys that were five guys for your eyes, and kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I've got my Post-its, as I said, and before we even went live, I said, I think I went overboard, Rob. But then here I am. I'm going to take a couple more because when I looked before, Elijah Higgins was not even listed. And if you saw him listed, well, then I need to go back to the well.
Oh, yes. Dude, Higgins, I think it was at 1.5 receptions, man. I think I'm going to take that. And again, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 13.5 or 11.5 receiving yards. And I'm like, that should be easy, at least in my opinion. So,
yes, I agree. So I will add them to my list.
Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests, ABGFF and AGBG3P. We are the Inside Scoop from outside the box. Always like us and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, X, Patreon, and Spotify. Spotify will have this shortly after we are done with this live. Guests, final words, please, sir.
This is the big week. I always say week 4 we'll have a nice sample size after this one. We can weed out the flukes. We can zero in on the correct trends. We'll have a few battles between is it a trend? Is it a trap? What's really happening here? But I think after this week, there's a lot more clarity. So I will see you all Tuesday, and I'll be excited to adjust to it at halftime.
All right, guys. Best of luck. We hope you guys all win your games. We'll probably be available about till 12 o'clock tomorrow. Somebody asked a great question about answering questions on the Facebook group. Guys, answer as many questions as you want.
Yes,
help each
please.
other out. We put the tutelage out there so that you guys can help each other out if we're not available. Obviously, we know we have busy schedules, but we do our best to try to answer everybody to give them the best answers. But if we're not available, you guys have heard for the last 8 seasons what to do. I think that you guys are all in good hands for everybody that is looking for answers. What were you going to say, Gus?
Yeah, trust them all. Yeah, we've had a lot of people. It is what it is. You have questions, you ask them when you can ask them or when you have them. But I feel bad because sometimes it's like, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 2:30, whatever time it is, and it's halftime, and I just happen to take a peek at my phone, and I see people were asking questions around like 12:50, and I missed them. It's like it's just too hectic for me with everything, not just football, with everything leading up to 1 o'clock, so I can sit and watch and digest. And so Rob said 12 o'clock. Please, at least by 12:30, if you have the questions, post them, because I want to make sure that I help out as much as I can.
And we appreciate you for doing that. So, all right, guys, best of luck, and we will see you next. I'll see you next week. Guess we'll be back on Tuesday. Best of luck. Peace.
See you.